Alright, film theory. I solved the Fnaf movie. Let's see what you got, Matt.
Thanks to Google Meet for sponsoring a portion of today's video.
Oh yeah, Google Meet. Sponsoring film theory. So, for those who don't know, and I don't think I've ever mentioned it on this channel, I'm a massive Fnaf fan.
Finally,
we've been waiting for this movie for a hot minute. Turn this down.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Film Theory.
Hell yeah, Matt. What do you got for me?
It's been over 8 years.
Yeah, we've been waiting for this movie for so long. Oh my god,
you know what
crazy.
That means. It means that nowhere is safe anymore from FNAF theory.
I'll be honest.
There's a FNAF cookbook released.
I need to get that. I need to get that.
Cookbook.
I don't think the movie's gonna be canon with the games. I think it's gonna be canon, like obviously because it's an official FNAF story, but I don't think it's going to be the same story as the games, personally, from what I've seen of it so far.
Also Sonic, Mario, and Last of Us in this year alone. In all seriousness, we are way overdue for a theory breaking down our predictions for this movie. And believe me, there is plenty to talk about. If you're on YouTube and you somehow missed the phenomenon that is Five Nights at Freddy's, how? Like, genuinely.
Yeah, there's no shot
this series
you've been on the internet and have not heard of it. I've been on FNAF since day one. Still am to this day. I watched Corey Kenshin play through FNAF 2 when he was going through it. Because he was like one of the first ones to do it. Yeah. God damn. It's crazy how long FNAF has been going for.
Only been 60? Feels like they've got to be 100. And this new FNAF movie seems to be staying true to the franchise
10 years
roots,
next year.
Not in terms of the lore necessarily, but in terms of the cryptic storytelling. There is a ton of information packed into the few short minutes of trailer footage that we've seen so far. Enough that I believe we can predict the entire plot of this new movie, right down to the shocking twist ending that's going to leave you devastated.
I feel like I have a general idea.
If this movie has itself a happy ending with everyone smiling and living after, then clearly you have not been paying attention.
No, I do not think it's going to have a happy ending.
Does what game theory's never been able to do: solve this franchise. And we're gonna do it before the movie even releases.
Let's see what you think the plot is gonna be. Curious if it lines up what I think.
To start with our prediction here is sort of laying out what we think the movie's trying to do with FNAF as a franchise. Just from watching these trailers, I think it's clear that this movie does not take place in the universe.
100%, like I just said.
I have played,
it's just not in the game universe. There's no shot. It just doesn't work.
Before. Clearly, it's a murder weapon, and clearly it was made by the franchise's big bad, but why, what, and how is still a complete mystery.
Which I'm excited to see.
This one's a guess, is that it's a
remnant extractor.
To ensure murder victims have
I've heard you mention this before.
Death possible, so the agony they experience can be harvested to help create creatures with eternal life. If
definitely possible theory. I can get that.
Strap in, El Chippo. You're in for a crash course. By the end of this thing, you're going to be talking about Fazgoo with the confidence of a pro. Looking at the trailers and IMDb, we know that this is going to be the story of Mike Schmidt, security guard from FNAF 1, but things are different this time around. Well,
in the games is theorized to be Mike
Afton.
Afton.
The original FNAF game, considering everyone's using old-school wired telephones, there are no modern cars, and all the monitors are old CRTs. They're also bringing in characters who clearly reference later parts of the franchise. Specifically Vanessa from Security Breach, a blonde security guard in the game who here appears as a blonde police officer. What I think's going on here from a meta perspective is that the movie's taking a bunch of stories from the game franchise and simplifying them for a general film audience, while trying to keep the most iconic aspects of the games intact. Plus, they're going to be combining ideas and characters from different eras of the franchise to get as many recognizable aspects of FNAF into one film as possible. That's why we see the story from the original FNAF interacting with someone new from Security Breach. And then you have a girl named Abby mixed in there whose name is literally an anagram of baby, all fighting against a broken version of Spring.
I didn't even realize
that. Right there, that is the filmmakers trying to bridge the gap between the different eras of FNAF and bring in as many fans as they can.
Yeah, so it's definitely a very different story, because logistically, in the context of the games, just what he just listed just there is just not possible. Like, in the context of the games, none of that can be possible. It just makes no sense. So, yeah, it has to be separate continuity.
can. The OGs from 2014,
but a lot of the
new
same
fans
characters,
from
right?
Security Breach, and also your average Joes who can't tell a Fred Bear from a Ned Bear, let alone a glam rock from a rock star. Oh, you have so much to learn. So all in all, think of this movie as something that's gonna wipe the slate clean and start fresh, referencing moments and key characters from the games and books, but not being beholden to them, because, you know, that's not a confusing route to go at all. That said, let's just hope they don't stray too far from the games. Case in point, this detail right here. During a spoopy, scary moment in the trailer, Nebraska is spelled out very clearly on a poster in very large, very bold letters right next to the main character's head. This was an intentional decision definitely put into the trailers to keep us talking. This means something. Now, the general consensus is that Utah FNAF games normally take place in Utah. Multiple spin-off book series have made that detail quite clear. Could it be then that they've moved the setting to Nebraska for some reason? Maybe, but
I think it's just very much another parallel,
the state that you're currently in right above your security desk. My guess is that this poster was put here intentionally by Mike. It's important to him for some reason. My best guess is that it's hashtag goals, an aspirational place to go to help him get out of his current situation. Because on the face of it, things don't seem to be going all that great for him. It looks to me like Mike and his family have fallen on some hard times. First off, we don't see his parents in these trailers at all. Though Mike's father has been cast, I'm gonna guess that he's only here for a flashback.
Yeah, flashback, my guess.
Mike's actor Josh Hutcherson. Additionally, we see that Mike and his little sister Abby are living in a small house with an average car, and Mike is looking for any job that he can get.
I was just calling to see if that job that you offered was still available. I will take anything.
We later see Mike bringing Abby along with him while he's working.
Because he has no, like, babysitter or anything.
Option. They can't afford a babysitter, and if there were parents at home to take care of Abby, why would he be bringing her to his night shift job? So Nebraska might be a symbolic place of freedom for Mike, a place to escape and finally be free. More or less, though, I believe that the setup for the backstory of the FNAF movie is going to align with that of the first game. Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria was a popular arcade and food chain represented by its 4 iconic mascots.
Foxy.
Some kids went missing in the 80s, and then
Freddy.
However, they're not the only ones here. Seems that some of the children encountered another animatronic, a large yellow bunny rabbit that's separate from the other 4, as we see in a drawing here on the wall from this shot.
Missing children's
this was a costume used by the owner of the establishment, William Afton, an outfit that he would use to get closer to the kids, which honestly is creepier in a movie than it was in the games. You know, just your typical yellow bunny friend holding hands with 5 kids, which, when you're talking in horror movie speak, is code for he killed those kids, stuffed them into suits, and eventually turned them into haunted robots. Also, just to call it out here, I originally thought that there was going to be something hidden in this wall of drawings beyond just the obvious. I mean, it is the perfect spot to sneak in little bits of hidden lore, but the more that we've seen of the wall in other trailers, there doesn't actually seem to be that much of anything here, sadly, and honestly surprisingly considering the franchise we're talking about.
Well, it has, it shows the spring Bonnie, so I guess it's like the Easter egg itself.
Big Bad isn't actually playing the villain. Despite rumors that he would be playing our resident Urkel murder man William Afton, in the trailers Lillard's character is clearly labeled as Steve Raglan, career counselor. But here's the rub. If there's one thing we've learned here on film theory over the past decade, it's that trailers can be manipulated to create mystery or confuse timelines. See also Morbius and Infinity War, just to name 2 key examples. And here, I think we're being presented with the exact same sort of misdirect. In fact, I'm almost 100% confident that I can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. First, Matthew Lillard confirmed that he signed a 3-picture deal.
He said that he is William Afton.
FNAF movie. And unless Steve Raglan's a new character that Blumhouse is just really hype about, I expect that deal was to play Afton. However,
didn't he say himself he's playing Afton?
We have this scene from the trailer where a young boy is seen getting kidnapped in the middle of the woods. Based on the film's official website, the synopsis reads that Mike is still, quote, haunted by the unsolved disappearance of his younger brother more than a decade before. And we know, based on casting, that the brother's name is Garrett. Now, the actor playing this
that is the kid,
Lucas Grant. Hopping over to Instagram, Grant commented on a post by Matthew Lillard saying that it was great to work with him and that he's much nicer than his character. Now tell me, why would a young actor playing a kidnapped boy have any reason to interact with a career counselor? He wouldn't. The only way they interact is if Matthew Lillard, Steve Raglan, William Afton, call it whatever you want, was
his character is like a bad person.
In other words, in this movie, a big final reveal will be that Matthew Lillard kidnapped Mike's brother. This would actually parallel some key moments from the original novel, where William Afton acts under a pseudonym, Dave Miller, and has the perfectly normal mundane job of security guard for an old abandoned mall, a job that allows him to supervise the comings and goings around Freddy's. That way, when kids start poking around, he's able to hop into the suit, get it, hop, because he's a rabbit, hop into the suit and try to scare him away, just like we see him doing here. And lastly, in the novels, he also kidnaps a kid prior to becoming a crazed serial killer. Honestly, a lot of the details here line up. Now, before we start jumping from video to
the
video,
game's pulling from the books a lot too.
The gang with more plot predictions, let's take a moment to thank a service that I bet Mike wishes he had. Our sponsor for this portion of today's video, Google Meet.
Google Meet.
When Google reached out to us wanting to partner partner to talk about their video calling app Google Meet, I was definitely surprised.
I'll just scroll through this
Weird
one.
theories about spooky in Five Nights at Freddy's.
But definitely,
So really,
shout out Google Meet, use code, game theory, MatPat, whatever the code is. Use it. Google Meet /MatPat. All right, let's continue.
when we look at a lot of the clues coming from these trailers, the story is largely what you'd expect. There's a string of children disappearing from the pizzeria, resulting in Freddy Fazbear's shutting down. Judging from both
Standard
the kids
story
drawing on the wall and this shot from the trailer, looks like Afton killed 5 children, as we'd expect from the lore of the first game.
Yeah.
Our favorite bunny-themed serial killer hid the bodies of the kids inside the animatronic suits, and in so doing, trapped their souls inside the robots forever.
Standard
we know
story
that
so
they're
far.
sticking with that specific part of the lore based on the jump scare here.
The ghost hand.
It is so good every time I see it. Children's
Yeah.
hands popping out of animatronic mouths.
Ghosty
Not only is it
hand.
terrifying, it tells us that he definitely hid the bodies inside there. But now recently, people have been poking around the old abandoned pizzeria. As we see in the most recent trailers,
Robbing the
small-time
place.
criminals break in, intent on robbing the place and trashing
Yeah.
it up for fun. I believe that sequence is probably going to be
The
the
beginning.
of the film. These
Yeah, I
characters
called that
break
out in
before
my,
they're met with a
trailer
terrible fate.
reaction,
The
too.
possessed animatronics come to life and kill them as they're mid-crime, not only showing the audience
Getting
early
killed
on
by a
that these
cupcake.
things are terrifying, but also creating a giant problem for Afton, who now risks having more people poking around his old murder den. Hoping to prevent future break-ins and deeply uncomfortable questions
He
about
hires
his past,
Mike.
Afton decides to hire a security guard to keep an eye on the place during the night. His first option doesn't exactly work out all that well, but not to be deterred, our plucky mass murderer tries and tries again to find someone who'll keep the building safe. Enter
Mike
our
Schmidt.
main character of the movie, Mike Schmidt. Mike will do anything for cash. Based on
Yeah.
these 2 shots from the first trailer here, we know that Mike has a history of working as a security guard, but likely he got carried away in a previous role.
Yeah, and
resulting
got
in him
fired.
getting fired.
And criminal
Desperate for
charges.
cash and with no one willing to hire him, Mike takes a
Just
job as
assault.
a night shift security guard at Freddy Fazbear's, bringing his sister Abby with him. Seems like things aren't too strange starting off. Though it's certainly creepy, they explore the pizzeria without much of an issue. Until, of course, there's a knock at the front door.
Vanessa.
Mike goes out and meets Vanessa, a police
Yeah.
officer with a strange interest in the building. In fact, she seems to know a lot about Freddy's.
In the 80s, kids went missing. The police searched.
Probably,
for
I
police
think she's
spots.
related to
They
one
never
of the
found them.
kids.
That's why the place shut down.
Looks like somebody watched our complete timeline. Soon as creepy occurrences start happening all across the pizzeria, Mike realizes what he's gotten himself into.
There are ghost children possessing giant robots. Thanks for the heads up.
And here's
Yeah.
where the stakes get higher. Obviously, the animatronics are going to pose a danger to both Mike and Vanessa, but their well-being isn't going to be the only thing on the line during this movie. Throughout the
Abby.
trailers, we see shots of Abby going off to explore the pizzeria
Yeah.
alone and ultimately
It's mainly
hiding
to
from
protect
Foxy in the
Abby.
ball pit. Let's just hope that she doesn't time travel. In all seriousness, though, somehow Abby will befriend the animatronics, especially the leader.
Yeah,
Golden
'cause
Fredbear,
she's with
a
Golden
character
Freddy.
that, you'll notice, never appears anywhere except for in shots with her. Why does she befriend them? Or rather, why do the animatronics choose to befriend Abby? Well,
What do they want?
They want to
Make her like them. Now, I'm wondering if that is actually what they're doing, or if that's just like the urban legend of this place, if that's actually like accurate, or if there's something more going on there.
her like them.
yep, the animatronics want to add
Because I feel like they want to do the twist, right, where they make it seem like, oh, the animatronics are the villain of the movie, and then you realize, no, the animatronics aren't the villain. It's actually the person who killed them back in the 80s, William Afton. Like, that's pretty much the twist that happened in FNAF 2. Well, no, FNAF 1 we knew there was a killer, right? Well, I guess you see, even in FNAF 1, the twist was that the animatronics themselves aren't evil. They're children that are, like, they're tormented spirits that were killed in the Freddy Fazbear's.
another member to their ranks, and that is going to be the big driving factor for this movie. Mike and Vanessa are going to rush to try to solve the mystery of the kids' disappearance and put their spirits to rest, hopefully with plenty of time to save Abby. The scenes where we see Mike
don't
interacting
think
with the kids
she's in
outside
real
the pizzeria,
danger.
I believe that this is where Mike is trying to put the pieces together and is speaking to the spirits in something like his dreams. Of course, William Afton does not want this to happen and has to get himself physically involved, disguising himself in his old Springtrap costume and chasing Mike and Vanessa around in an attempt to silence them in the big scary action set pieces. Afton will likely capture and injure Vanessa at some point, considering that we see a yellow rabbit
he grabs her,
grabbing
yeah.
Vanessa's neck here, and Mike's sitting
Notice
by
that in the
Vanessa
trailer
hospital
too.
looking concerned. So that's the main setup for what I see happening in the movie, but what about the big twist? There's always got to be some sort of
I
twist
do
in
not
Fnaf.
think
Well,
Abby's
I
actually in
believe that
danger.
It comes with the identity of some of the spirits. You see, we actually get a pretty good idea of which spirits possess which animatronic bodies from this shot in the trailers. It's pretty obviously telegraphed.
Bonnie.
Funny-haired kid is Bonnie, redhead with pirate claw is Foxy, the girl wearing all yellow,
Chica.
and the boy with the top hat is Freddy. As for the last kid, though, well, the obvious thought was that he was going to become the mysterious Golden Freddy. I think that's what I and everyone else assumed when we saw that first trailer. But now, I'm not so sure. The fact that this fifth child in the shot doesn't have a characteristic explicitly linking him to an animatronic has to be intentional. And I believe that it was the filmmakers keeping things ambiguous so we wouldn't guess their twist. I suspect that the fifth kid here isn't Golden Freddy. Instead, I think it might be the Cupcake. Yeah, I know, I get it. It sounds ridiculous, but hear me out on this one. In the latest trailer, we clearly see Cupcake moving around independently and attacking someone without Chica's help. My initial gut thought to this? Well, that's kind of stupid, to be honest. Like, does Chica's soul transfer down into the Cupcake alone for remote attacks, leaving Chica soulless for a while now? Or can a spirit divide itself and act on different
Cupcake
parts
was
of
on
the
its own
character
in
at
Fnaf
different times?
4.
You know what? I'm not sure. I don't have a good answer for it, but I do think that this would open up an incredibly dark and compelling twist on Golden Freddy. Remember, these 5 kids who disappeared at Freddy Fazbear's in the shot aren't the only kids that have gone missing in this story. We still have ourselves Mike's missing brother Garrett, who we talked about earlier as the kid in the
And you
back
think
of the
he's
car,
gonna be
likely
Golden
being
Freddy?
carted away by old Billy Afton up in front. I mean, in this franchise, it would be shocking if someone kidnapping a child wasn't William Afton. Anyway, why do I think that this is actually the moment that we see Mike's brother get kidnapped? Well, again, we turn to actor Lucas Grant and Instagram, where we see this post of him hanging out with another child actor named Wyatt Parker. Parker even calls Grant his best bro, an interesting choice of words considering that Parker was cast in the film as young Mike. 2 twin brothers, one who gets kidnapped. Almost a one-for-one replica of what
So that would make
the Silverized novel.
So you're
let me ask you,
thinking,
what if Mike's brother is Golden Freddy? From the
which would
tragedy
mean
at the
his
pizzeria?
connection
We
with
can assume that
Abby
Mike's
makes
brother
sense
was
because that's his
kidnapped in one
sister.
of the earlier parts of the timeline, a time when Golden Freddy would still be in use. And in the games, we've long theorized that Mike Schmidt is in fact Mike Afton, son of William Afton. This would also mean that his little brother was the crying child who
Which
was
lines
killed and
up
became one of
with
the
the
spirits
games.
that possessed Golden Freddy. Given the fact that Mike's father's been cast and is distinctly not being played by Matthew Lillard, I don't think that's the exact direction that they're taking for the movie.
Yeah,
but taking
it's
the
just not
core
exactly
of that
the same.
story, keeping Mike's brother as Golden
That's why,
Freddy,
yeah,
well,
I don't think
that
it's
would
fully
fit
canon with the
both
game.
the timeline and serve as a devastating twist to the casual audience. It would also explain why Abby is spending so much time with
Yeah,
Golden
'cause
Freddy in the
technically it's his
trailer.
sister.
It's her spending time with a brother that she never got to know, whether she realizes it or not. It could also explain why Golden Freddy retains blue eyes when all the other animatronics have red ones. The circumstances of his possession are just a little bit different and he's interacting with a family member. So Afton attacks Mike and Vanessa for getting too close to his secrets, and despite fighting back, they ultimately lose. As they're about to die, Abby is able to win over the animatronics and use them to fight back against Afton, saving them all. You'll notice one of the oddities of the trailer is the design of Springtrap. It is different from what we see in the games. It's cleaner and it's more put together. It has not gone through all the rotten decay that we'd expect from this character.
Half of it
I
is, like,
believe
busted
that's
up, though.
exactly how it ends. Mike, Abby, Vanessa, and the animatronics defeat Afton by trapping him in the walls. Tying a bow on the end of this movie while still leaving him in a position to turn into the decayed, rotten corpse that we all know and love for the eventual sequel. However, all things can't end happily here. I believe there's a good chance that the animatronics are gonna wind up getting what they want out of Abby in the end. Her name is an anagram of baby, after all, an animatronic that first appeared in Fnaf's sister location. The team celebrates the defeat of Afton, only for Abby to accidentally stumble into a clown outfit, or maybe get put there by a vengeful Golden Freddy, giving us our villain and the problem to solve in the eventual second movie, saving the girl from her eternal, ceaseless torment. Or maybe that ceaseless torment is just meant for me, who is now tasked with trying to solve the timeline of this franchise across multiple channels. Truly, the animatronics have taken another victim. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut.
I'll be honest here. I might as well. I'll just come this off. I'll say what I agree and don't agree with. So, what do I not agree with? I do not think the animatronics are going to be or have like any ill will in this movie. I don't. I feel like the whole they want to make her like them. I think it's just bullshit. I feel like it is literally just like it's not true. It's just them making up stuff, trying to explain it. You know, they're making a theory off of it. I think the real story is like they just get along with Abby. She's a kid, right? And yeah, I feel like Michael is gonna kind of discover them. I still think the idea of Abby becoming Baby works, but I don't think it'll be the animatronics that does it. I feel like it'd still be William Afton that does this. Discord. I feel like William Afton would still cause this, but yeah, overall I do agree with this a lot, but I don't know if I agree with the fact that the animatronics are actually out to turn Abby into one of them. Again, that's just my personal take. Other than that, great theory. Good job, MatPat. As always. Always love watching MatPat stuff. Have been for years. So yeah, check out Film Theorist. They put out quality stuff. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of whatever I make. Have a good day, guys.